Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Reluctant Nabi back again. And I wanted to put this video up as a standalone video because we talked about this organization and we'll discuss the woman featured here. But first, let me greet everybody real quick. All right, before we get into facts on BAW's annihilation of the Afro community. Because when you try to annihilate the men that make the seed, that plants the seed, whereby the community can grow, then you intend to annihilate all parts of the community. It's not about the BAW. It has always been about the Afro man. All right, and I know this like many other Afro men, and I'm not weak like them other dudes and too afraid to talk about it because money matters more than anything. All right, so let me greet everybody real quick. Howard Hardu Budog Ola Oitadabain Vasas Los Bonjamezami Kedabawani Konnichiwa Niha Niama Sani Bonani Jambo Herbayagani Assalamu alaikum Shalom Kamusta Ka Kamusta Porkayo Talafa Lava Soy Fua. Alright, so let's get into this and let's get ready to break this thing down because this is a serious matter here. And if there wasn't a moment where people should wake up, this attack on an organization that named themselves as if they cared about the Afro people, while simultaneously only caring about what matters to Caucasian people on the Democrat side, this should be a wake-up call for any brother that's still a man. I mean mentally a man in a black community that's not chasing after poontang or deifying BAW simply because they have a coochie and a big butt. All right, so let's get into this. All right, so when I refer to women, BAW's intent on annihilating the Afro man, one of the things you probably didn't know about is this National Black Justice Coalition, all of which do not have anything to do with black people or people calling themselves black or the black community. All right, and off of the civil rights that should have gone to Afro men to build families, the Caucasian people came up with a system to give these rights to Caucasian men, thereby giving them privilege over everyone, to include the layman Caucasian man, Caucasian female that wanted to have a family. And so you got 4.6% of the majority organization of a population that is taking away the rights of the 96%. So I want y'all to understand this, right? And they are able to do that because the Afro community was betrayed by two black women. Charlene Cothran, who has since then repented, trying to be a Christian, and now she's speaking against the LGBT and how they operate. And this one, Sharon Letterman Hicks, who is the CEO of this Nbjc organization. Now, you can go look this up now that you know her name, all right? But I talked about this in a live, and I talked about what happened to Dave Chappelle on Twitter. But I want y'all to understand the objectives behind all of this and how what has been going on is way worse than you think it is. This is way worse. This is an outright attack on the most disenfranchised person in the United States, and that is the heterosexual Afro male. And by extension, any Afro male. All right, because I'm gonna bring out the stats where so that you can understand that the population that is riding roughshod over the entire country is very, very small and very, very white, who are getting their help from the BAW. All right. So Dave Chappelle, as you know, did a skit, did a comedy show, and we are all familiar with him being silenced by these people. Understand this. These are primarily black women who are silencing us Afro men. But they're silencing an Afro men on the behalf of primarily Caucasian men. Caucasian men who have not been disenfranchised from anything. And if you stick with me, you're going to get that from out of one of the horse's mouth. A dude on Twitter, just a Caucasian male who is gay, and he just breaks it down. All right, he just breaks it down, and he tells you the difference between the privilege that the Caucasian men are getting in the United States and the real risk they get from their behavior, say like in a Muslim-run country where they're thrown off a building. But we'll let him talk about that. All right. So this National Black Justice Coalition is run by a BAW, but she don't stand up for HBCUs. There's a foundation for all of them on all the HBCUs. All right, so understand how they make all the HBCUs about the LGBT community, who is only 4.6 of the total U.S. population. And of that 4.6, the Afro people are only 12% of that population. This is how small of a group it is that is taking away the rights of most Afro men, especially if we're hetero. And the BAWs as a whole is on board with this. This is why Afro men keep saying we need to leave them alone. Find wives from other countries or from other groups of people. We owe them nothing as Afro men because they betray us every opportunity they get. Okay? When I say annihilation of the Afro community, the BAW lead in every last one of these stats. Every negative stats, they lead. They right now account for 37% of abortions. The main reason for abortion is personal choice, 98% of the time. The R word and incest, only 0.3%, and life and health of the mother is 1.7%, but 98% of the time. These women say, well, what's the reason? They all know, because many of them that come up with, oh, what's the reason? You got to look at the reason why we did it. 98% of the time is personal choice. You can freeze this and this will break it down. When we look at violence against children in the community, 71% of the time and greater than that in the Afro community is caused by the mother alone. The child is better off with the father. The courts have known about this. And the biggest problem that we have is these women, in their attitudes, have conditioned other men to falsely accuse men as a whole, the Afro men as a whole, as not being good men, when statistically we are. We are the most involved fathers out of the Hispanics and Caucasians. All right, the Orientals probably have us beat. But out of the Hispanics and Caucasian. But what possesses those men? The booty. That's it. These men call them women queens simply because they have a behind. Overweight behind, but it's the same overweight behind that others have, right? So when we look at the percentage of children in poverty by race and ethnicity, it's kind of worse now. All right. You will find that across all races, the best place to be with a child is with the biological mother and father. But if that can't happen, the second best place to be for a child, statistically speaking, is with the single father. Never, under any circumstances, when we're looking at poverty, how the child is raised and stuff, is it with the single mother. As a matter of fact, the worst place statistically for a child to be is with the single, according to this, black mother, then the Latino mother, then the white mother. But the best place is always with the biological mother and father. The next best place is with the biological father. The courts know this. All right? Because a lot of these .org places have been doing this. The CDC's been doing this. The Human and Health Services have done this. They all know this, which means the court should know this. But people make money off of destroying the Afro family and families in general in the United States. When we say that the BWs, the BAWs in the United States lead all other women in every negative category, we weren't lying. So don't tell us that white women do it too. We already know that. We bring that up. We say, no, we know they do it too, but you lead everybody in every category that is negative, that is harmful to the community. This is why the community is being annihilated. This is why we as an Afro community are going extinct. Part of it is that the fault of men, because when the Most High said we should sanctify ourselves, that means get away from those who are doing evil upon us, especially as men, that we are not supposed to choose those as wives who are involved in witchcraft. It had nothing to do with race. It had to do with witchcraft and the respect of the man. Neither which the BW does. The BW does opposite of what scripture says. So we're not supposed to be messing with her in the United States. So back to this. Back to Sharon Letterman Hicks. So she's the CEO of the National Black Justice Coalition. The people that decided that they're going to cancel Dave Chappelle. One, Dave Chappelle is a comedian that people listen to, and he's a comedian. Dave Chappelle, nobody is off limits. Not the Jewish people, not anybody. The whole point to his thing, when he was calling out the LGBT community, was that they, off of the backs of the Afro men, got superior rights over everybody. And they are making so much money, those who are the leaders of these organizations, while at the same time attacking their own. If they have a moment of clarity, understand this, or if they stand up for what's rights and the rights of others. What happened is there's a possibility that how they came after his friend that he gave an opportunity to, who was transgendered, Their attack on that man for standing up for Dave, for pointing out that they've gotten their stuff on the backs of the Afro-American male civil rights. They attacked him so bad that it is probably why he committed suicide. Now, let me say this. The media is saying, well, we don't know this for sure, but they don't know if the juice worked for sure that they want everybody to get jabbed with, but they're running with it. They'll say that something is untested that looks like it cures something, but the thing that hasn't been untested, the thing that hasn't been tested that's actually killing people, they want people to get that in their arms. We'll just stick with that. You can't mention the people that's coming up with these things because them and senators own stock in all this stuff that they're forcing everybody to do. That kind of injustice. So you can't follow the media. But when you listen to the friends of the guy, they're coming out on the media and they're telling them that that dude did what he did because these people came after him for standing up for Dave, because Dave was pointing out that he was speaking on the behalf of Afro people, which this woman is not. We'll prove that in a minute. Pay attention to this guy. Then we'll go through the stats.
So apparently, according to a school district in my home state of Virginia, I am oppressed and I experience oppression because of my sexuality. Now I'm sitting here racking my brain trying to figure out how on earth am I oppressed? But nonetheless, I'm coming up short. When it comes to income, gay men actually make the most compared to their straight counterparts. Even just saying that I'm oppressed in the United States of America is a privilege. Now, compared to the average person, am I different? Absolutely. My differences don't oppress me, they strengthen me. Real oppression of gay men is happening in the Middle East, where they're getting thrown off of buildings, where the Taliban is hunting them down. That is real oppression. The only thing that's coming close to oppressing gay men in America is the Democratic Party trying to force feed this victim narrative down our throats.
Now, let me break that down for you. Even the layperson who participate in that lifestyle is saying that it's his choice, that he is not oppressed. And when you really look at the demographics, they are out earning everyone else. But then too, they have all the Afro men's rights and the Afro men don't have any. They get to say and talk about whatever they want to talk about, and we don't. All right, so again, the breakdown. The LGBT community is 4.5% of the population. All right, I want y'all to understand that. The overall gender ratio is 58% female, 42% male. When we break it down by white people, and you got to count the Latino and Latina, because they are white people. They are from Spain, which is in Europe. All right. They identify as white more than 50% of the time. All right. So when you put them together with all the people that can identify as white when they want to, it is 89%, 79% that is Caucasian. Black people are 12%, and the others is around 5%. All right. If you look at that ratio, 58% female to 42% male overall. But when you look at black people, as they say, the 12%, 62% are female, only 38% are male. I want you to let that sink in. 62% of the Afro population in this lifestyle are female. So when you look at who's robbing the males of the right to even speak, have a conversation, on Twitter and on TikTok, the BWs will call Afro men Sambos. They will call us the raccoon word. They will call us all disparaging things. And they will block us if we point out facts. Not call them names. All right. Let's point this fact out. A point of fact. This woman and this organization came to the aid of white professors at Alabama State University who filed a lawsuit in federal court against Alabama State, which is an HBCU. All right. What happened is these guys felt discriminated based on their color. And this woman came to their defense. Why? Because her purpose was to defend that community, which is primarily Caucasian, than it is to do anything for the Afro community. Remember, any of these people saying that they're looking for civil rights, they're not looking for civil rights because the LGBT community got superior rights to everybody in the United States. They can shut down anybody on any platform. They have superior rights to any Afro male in the United States, with whom the 64 Civil Rights Bill was supposed to be targeted for. But it was the Democrats that put in gender and sex in there so that we as Afro men would never be able to have rights as human beings in the United States. Understanding that the BAW would align with the Caucasian males who took a part in buck breaking to take all the rights that was meant for the Afro family and give it straight to primarily Caucasian males and females. And here's the breakdown of that. Dr. King was talking to Harry Belafonte, and Harry asked him a question. He said, I said, what's the matter, Martin? You seem very agitated. He said, well, I am, because I've come upon a thought I don't know how to deal with at this moment. I said, well, what is it? He said, we fought so long for integration. It looks like we're going to get it. I think we'll get the laws, he says. But I'm afraid I have come upon something I don't know quite what to do with. He says, I'm afraid that we're integrating into a burning house. The difference with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X is Malcolm X was not fighting for inclusion. He was fighting for respect. The right to exist as a human being, which we as Afro men do not have, even though that there are laws on the books. Why? Because these tech giants, these organizations and stuff, put BAWs at the helm, and they're using her to stifle our voices, to tear us down, to destroy our communities, and annihilate the family unit. And I do mean annihilate, because that's what that is what has happened. They want single motherhood to be godhood, and they want men eliminated, because this is the words that are coming out of these BAWs' mouths on all platforms. And they get to say it while at the same time, if we put up facts as to what they're doing, or if we call out what they do, they're allowed to oppress the Afro men by silencing their voices. And they pick and choose who they silence. If there's a dude that's going to sell out the Afro men, they'll go flock to see him and make him popular and make him money. Because there's a lot of us that sell each other out for some money and a little bit of poontang. That's the burning house that he probably couldn't see. Malcolm X saw it, and just like Shiraz Ali is pointing out the BAW, Malcolm X would have been on them so harshly because he would have saw all this destruction. But then again, that's why they assassinated him. Fred Hampton, Stokely Carmichael. This is why the BAW assassinate the character of Afro men that stand up. This is why the LGBT community is coming out in defense of Dave Chappelle along with others. This is why when you look at who they use to attack the Afro men, you'll see the face of a BAW. With that said, I'm out.